Facing the state inquiry into the energy crisis, Hydro Tasmania went on the defensive about low dam levels when the Basslink cable broke.
Hydro refutes the notion that power generation in the carbon period was somehow causal to the outcomes.
Last night, the ABC revealed there's been a decade-long battle about how hard to run the cable. Legal documents show Hydro and Basslink traded blame for a 2012 cable outage, with Basslink believing it was due to Hydro's desire to maximise its exports and profits under the carbon tax. Hydro in turn claimed the restriction was done to cause it serious financial harm. Today, Hydro confirmed the cable owners had tried to limit its power exports using a so-called dynamic protocol.
Why were they imposing that dynamic protocol and restricting Hydro at that point? Was there a risk to the cable, or what was the problem here?
Well, they thought it was what they should do. That's what they told us.
The committee pressed for more detail.
They were unfairly limiting the capacity for Hydro to export.
I don't know about unfair, but outside of the terms of their contract. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they weren't complying with what they were required to do under the contract.
It was just one of several legal disputes going back a decade that resulted in arbitration by former High Court Chief Justice Murray Gleeson.
Basslink, well, City Spring made an announcement in January 2014 saying that the arbitration found that the dynamic protocol was something that Basslink shouldn't do, that they had to cease it.
The former Energy Minister says he knew there were disagreements, but wasn't aware of how deep the rift was.
At that time, the indications were that City Springs Basslink were a difficult organisation to deal with.
Energy analyst Mark White isn't surprised by the disputes, given Hydro needs to come up with $95 million a year to use Basslink.
The question seems to be around, how hard can the cable be run? What's fair and reasonable, while the asset owner wants obviously to take the best care of the cable for the long term.
Basslink has declined to comment. It's still unclear if the company will appear before the parliamentary inquiry. Richard Baines, ABC News.
State political reporter Ellen Coulter joins us now from Parliament. Ellen, as we heard earlier, the energy crisis is set to have a big impact on Hydro's bottom line.
That's right, Angela. Hydro Tasmania's chairman, Grant Every-Burns, has told the inquiry that the net cost of responding to the energy crisis is expected to be between $140 and $180 million. Hydro Tasmania's inability to generate and export power during the crisis has also hit hard. The business is expecting to post a $90 million loss this year and is hoping to break even in 2016-17.
How prepared was Hydro for this crisis?
Well, Hydro Tasmania told the inquiry that it was prepared for a combination of drought conditions and a 2-month Basslink outage, but it didn't believe that an extended outage of the cable like the one we've just seen was a credible scenario. So Hydro had done extensive modelling of various hypothetical situations, but in the end it didn't think it made financial sense to try to prevent such an unlikely combination of events.
We didn't really think that the failure of the extensive nature that it was occurring at the time that it did, with the infalls being as low as they did, was a particularly credible scenario. We didn't ignore it, but we just didn't believe it was a particularly credible scenario.
So, Ellen, is Tasmania better prepared if these sorts of conditions hit the state again?
Well, now that it's done some practical modelling, Hydro Tasmania certainly thinks so. The business is now focusing on building up its dams. Of course, the dam levels got down to a low of 12.8% in April. They've now risen to 27.6% and they're still rising. Hydro Tasmania no longer has plans to sell the Tamar Valley Power Station gas turbine, and while they're sending back the 200 emergency diesel generators that were brought in from interstate, Hydro Tasmania says the sites that were reserved and used for those generators could easily and quickly be used again if necessary. Of course, we still don't know what caused the Basslink fault or how likely it is that that could happen again.